Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today's pick a card we're looking at how do you inspire yourself from within, from your own resources, your own spirit, your own creativity, your own wisdom, all of those sort of things, and also how you're an inspiration or a muse to others. And I like to look into that kind of concept sometimes, partly because it's good to know how you inspire others. It can actually remind you how you can inspire yourself and how others see you. But also because muse energy and being an inspiration to others can actually be quite complex in terms of relationship management as well. So being aware of your inspirational qualities, whether it's for others or for yourself, both helps you use your own abilities, wisdom, knowledge, skills, all of that kind of thing for your highest good. But it also can sometimes be a little bit of a underlying drumbeat that helps you understand relationships that you have. I often say on this channel that some of the most inspirational and charismatic people I've known in my life have had some of the most complicated relationships. So I think the two can go hand in hand. So I think it's a really interesting thing to understand about yourself, because then if you're seeing particular sort of things where people seem to be relying on you a lot, or it almost feels like you're being fed on a bit, even if it's not in a way that somebody is meaning any harm, it can help you understand that. And there's probably, I would say, though we're kind of being testing this out in this particular picky card, but I would say there's probably some similarity between the qualities you have to inspire yourself and the qualities that inspire others. Now, the inspiration for this reading came from getting a new tarot deck. I got it from Hermit Haven store on Etsy. I love this creator's deck. So now I think I've got all of them now that they've created so far anyway. This one is called the Melancholic Muse Tarot, and I was drawn to it apart from just by the sheer beauty and the colouring, because the colouring, things like dusty pink, and these sort of like tealy sort of greens and so forth, the greeny blues are amongst my favourite colours. So I was going to be drawn to this deck anyway. But I was also drawn because I liked the concept of the muse energy and exploring it, and I thought that'll be perfect for this particular reading as well, and a way to showcase its beauty. So as I say, we're going to be looking at both your inspiration of yourself and your inspiration of others, and what you need to understand about that to use it to its highest good. Probably don't need to say anything more really by way of introduction, apart from going through the pile choice. As I often do, I ask Spirit, I said I'm going to shuffle the cards, and the first three major arcana cards that come up will be a choice point for each pile and a little bit of the beginning of the story that we're talking about. So hopefully that will help you choose. But of course, if you always go to pile two, go to pile two. If you want to go to more than one, go to more than one. But for the choice overall otherwise, for pile number one, we have Judgment. For pile number two, we have the Tower. And for pile number three, we have the Hermit. So three of the strongest, influential and spiritual cards so far, which doesn't really surprise me that would come up for this collective. But anyway, hopefully it might help some of you choose. Pause and contemplate if you need to, but when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, as always, I've got the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile one to your reading. Actually, I'm working out that this is a little bit skew-whiff. Sorry about that. It still is. There we go. That's a bit better. So the way that I've laid out this beginning is we come in through the Judgment card. We have two everyday oracle cards, and they're meant to show kind of areas in your life at the moment where your muse or inspirational energy for yourself and for others tends to get triggered. So one of the things, and then we have a couple of court cards from this deck. Now, the thing about this deck is the court cards have particular professions associated with them, which I find really interesting. So the Page of Pentacles has painter, the Queen of Chalices has head nurse. And I thought it would be useful. So the other thing I did when I shuffled and asked for that is that I asked for the first six court cards, and then I shuffled them again so that I wouldn't know which was going to be with which, but so that we can actually see almost maybe an aspect, whether it's actually a role that you have where the inspiration really comes out, or whether it's how people respond to you or how you inspire yourself, almost as though it was a professional or vocational role as well too. It just gives us another element to what we're looking at. So you came to Judgment, and Judgment to me tells me that your inspiration of yourself and others is around on its most basic level, decision making, answering the call, knowing what is the right thing to do, understanding karmic sort of information and inspiration, but also it is just it's a call to action as much as anything else. But it could also be that you have a very specific way of working through your own issues and spiritual path and decisions that has almost a macro energy to it. It's not just looking at things in the sense that things just happen to you and that's what it is. I think it's more in a sense of what have I drawn to myself? How can I express this? How can I deal with these sort of issues? What do I do? What was my contribution? What was the contribution of others? And then in terms of inspiring others, I think it might be drawing people, towards decisions that are more healing and help them understand that same dynamic. I think you have a really strong understanding that at the end of the day, most of the decisions that we make are our decisions, and our decisions make us as much as we make them. So an understanding of that sort of thing and how to process that and bring it to the highest good is a big part of what you use that to inspire yourself, to make you feel that, if I make what I feel is a mistake, I don't have to regret it. I just need to learn from it and then build and create what else I need to do, and that I don't take on other people's stuff, but I equally don't project it out. And in terms of inspiring others, I feel it's a similar thing, getting people to heal by understanding the dynamics and feeling that they have the mastery of free will and so forth, and self-understanding again. Why I'm saying that is we're looking at you tend to inspire yourself and others. You call upon this energy when things are tricky, when things are difficult. This doesn't mean that you couldn't be creative or inspirational in other ways, but when you call upon those inner resources to inspire yourself or inspire others, it tends to be in that space. And I think you are about the creation and the recording of things, the understanding and the healing, both for yourself and for others. Because when you look at the situations, like internally ghosted, so when you feel that people have left you alone, when you are left to your own devices, when you don't understand what's gone on into relationships, that's when you tend to call upon your own inspirational energy to get you through that. And other people tend to be inspired by you when they feel they need to get out of a toxic situation or they need healing. And it kind of makes a lot of sense then when we look at the Page of Pentacles as a painter. A painter to me records what has happened but creates it as something beautiful. So I feel like you tend to draw on your inspiration, which I feel is very creative and very visual. When something has been sad, something has been a loss or a sense that you don't understand it, it's almost as though the way you deal with it and process it is to record it as a painter would. But as I say, to make it more beautiful and make it something that is yours. So I feel, if you were literally ghosted by someone, or if there were relationship issues, instead of trying to analyze it to death, and instead of trying to push somebody else into doing something else, it's like you become a historian of it. There's a real sense of history and a real sense of understanding of the flow of time with you. And I think that you then create something beautiful out of it to understand it and to be able to move forward. So you inspire yourself in periods of pain by taking the creative license and the creative choice back. In terms of helping other people, when they are in a toxic situation, with the Queen of Chalices, highly emotionally resonant, and this is the point, you actually deal with emotional disappointment incredibly maturely and incredibly healthily. You really are a kind of a paragon of that. And I think that people with the head nurse, people tend to be inspired by you, the way that you deal with things, as a way to heal, as a way to feel emotionally secure again, as a way to move away from that which was damaging and move towards that which is healthy. So your inspiration is about self-mastery, I think, and it's about particularly around, I think, emotional issues, and it inspires others in terms of healing. That is probably a pretty healthy way to inspire others. It feels as though for you, more often than not, people would actually just see you as a role model and a support and a healing presence, rather than somebody that they need to kind of like have the more vampiric sort of feeding type of energy. But it is, of course, possible that sometimes this could go into the toxic area, and so instead of just healing someone becomes dependent on you. So I think that's you have understood how to deal with relationship things yourself very well. But one of the I guess things to be aware of is that this could create a dependency sometimes. But I think for the most part, your approach takes people towards feeling that emotional maturity as well. So that's very positive. So let's get a little bit more on how you inspire yourself and how you inspire others. And then let's see what that creates in both yourself and in others. So how you inspire yourself beyond creating a record of what has occurred emotionally that is beautiful, regardless of whether or not others have done what you would have wanted, and beyond, so in terms of yourself, what else are we looking at here? Ace of Wands. Yeah, that's very painterly as well too. Some of you may literally be painters, or you might draw or something like that, but you don't have to literally do that. Four of Chalices reversed, the Fool, Three of Swords reversed. Yeah, heal broken hearts, your own broken heart, as much as anything else. Okay, so for you inspire, it's a very creative thing. You take any pain and you transmute it into a new creation. That's kind of how you deal with it, as opposed to sort of projecting it out or anything like that. You aren't interested in being caught in an emotional block. You just go on to the next adventure. So you're actually, as I say, it's a very healthy way of dealing with this. You would be very present and very passionate in any relationship you were in. But if somebody decides to ghost you, you're not going to waste a lot of time on that. You're going to, it feels actually, the painter, but it almost feels like, people who would get flowers and they would press them in sort of the pages of a journal as a memory. That's kind of what it feels like. You do that and then you move on. You move on to something that's new. Instead of staying emotionally blocked, you almost inspire yourself from this, and it is an innately healing thing to do. The thing that's interesting for you is that you never really give up. So in terms of like just emotional resilience, you're very, very strong. And this makes sure you don't give up. You're always ready for the next adventure. If there is a emotional loss, you will always say, okay, what's next? So you don't give up. And for some of you as well, if it's possible that sometimes this energy with somebody not being around may in fact not be them rejecting you or moving on, maybe other things, then you are open to moving on without them, but you're also, the door in a sense is always still open as well. So as I say, it's very healthy. You use your creative inspiration as a healing modality for yourself, so that you're always optimistic about the next time. You don't take what occurred in this situation and replicate it elsewhere. You just look at what was beautiful in it, and then you move on to see what else there is. So let's see, in terms of inspiring others, as I say, like, this will be interesting to see if there's anything to say that you have to be careful around any of it. But for the most part, I do think this is just being an inspiration around how to deal with this and helping people heal. But let's see what we get. Two of Chalices. Yeah, it's a lot about broken hearts. I think you heal broken hearts. Page of Swords reversed. The World. Oh, that's interesting with the World and the Fool next to each other. Queen of Pentacles. Four of Swords. Okay. So a lot of this has to do with relationship stuff. There's a very strong relationship energy around this. I think you're just very, very good around relationships. And that really helps with people. So you do inspire it. Now, the one thing though I would say, when we've got the Two of Chalices or Two of Cups, and then we've got the Page of Swords reversed next to it, if there is a time where your natural emotional maturity has inspired others and drawn them in, there is the risk, you just need to be aware of it, that sometimes people may, particularly if the circumstances are such that, you are the gender of their preference and they're looking for somebody, they may misinterpret some of this and they may project some of it on you. So you just need to be aware that that's a possibility. But for the most part, I think you help people clarify what they want emotionally and close out on that which was not working for them. Again, so that they can become like you and then move from the World to the Fool. Queen of Pentacles, Gardener, suggests to me like helping them heal and grow and feel a sense of stability. Gardener also makes me think, to be honest, of the Nine of Pentacles. So I feel like there's a kind of a sense of you help them, have their independence and so forth. and you help them go within to find what they need to find within and to find peace within. So I think for most people, it's a very healthy, healing energy of closure, clarity, and understanding. And whether you directly do it by sitting and talking to them in some therapeutic way or as a best friend, or whether it is actually something to do with your art and your art speaks to them in that way if you're a creative. Either way, I think that's what occurs. But the only thing you need to be aware of is if there's a projection, a misunderstanding of the energy. So we're just going to get 2 cards for what does this create for you and what does it create for others in terms of the inspiration. So for you, Knight of Wands reversed, Justice reversed, okay, and for others, so that kind of makes a lot of sense actually, and for others, Knight of Swords reverse, yeah, it slows everything down. Like you have a slowing down in it, which is interesting because there's always a kind of an urgency about judgment, but I think you get the timing right to slow down before the decision is made. And 9 of Pentacles, yeah, the independence. Okay, so for you, it stops you rushing in to just go, this was all unjust and get caught up in this issue. It actually gives you a process to slow down and mediate anything like that so that you feel in control and optimistic to move forward. For them, it's a slowing down energy too. Knight of Wands and Knight of Swords are the 2 fastest cards in many ways in the deck. Probably Chariot's kind of similar, but like beyond that. And if they're reversed, then I feel, again, you get people to slow down and find what they want materially and find their independence. So, and that is helpful too if there is any misunderstanding, that you in the end have a kind of firm, it's not sternness because you do heal and so forth, but there is a firm practicality to what you do. So it is less likely that people are going to, at least in the long term, decide you're the answer to all their problems and now they want to be with you if you don't want that. But I think you've worked it out, and it may have been something that you worked out through adversity and through being very heartbroken and going through all of that. But I feel like you stopped that whole what is going on. And there's a kind of an understanding again too that like relationship energies are not kind of likely to be some sort of payback on some sense. They just, what 2 energies coming together create, and you can slow down enough to understand that and release any feelings of injustice. So as I say, very emotionally mature. So let's sort of see around chakra energy. So I just want to have a look at the kind of chakra energy that operates with this. So I'm going to look at like chakra energy around you, around other people, and a kind of combined energy. And then we're going to get just something from the Straight Talking Tarot for any advice around that. So again, around the inspiration that you give to yourself, we have, okay, this is the solar plexus, a little bit overactive. I do get hyperactive. So I think this is the slow down. This is the slow down. I think, like most people at first, you may feel like what's going on and somebody cheating on me or whatever, but you slow yourself down. You do know that you can go into hyperactive energy. And I think with the solar plexus, you reclaim your power and then you create out of it. What about in terms of others? We have the throat chakra. I talk more than I listen. Okay. This may be that this is what you draw out in others, actually. I think this is probably more the energy that you're drawing to you. So I think you would probably find that people kind of come and like blurt it all out to you because they are looking for the healing. But I think that you're able to deal with that. What about the combined energy when you put the 2 things together? Oops. Yeah, balanced. I feel emotionally open. That makes perfect sense. Because this is like both are overactive. This will be why we have the 2 knights reversed. It's like both in yourself, you know how to slow yourself down and be more contemplative. And with other people, it's sort of like you let them talk, but you still slow them down to have that sense that they can be back in control again. And it brings it to emotional sort of balance and so forth. Let's just see if there's any advice the Straight Talking Tarot wants to give around either of these or any of those 3. So around yours, when you're slowing yourself down so that you can go into this very creative, so you can channel this into your creative, healthy way of dealing with things. The right path, yeah. It gets you on the right path, and what you do is the right thing to do. It's a really good way to use your own way of inspiring yourself. What about with other people? So don't exit, yeah. Sometimes they might be a bit overwhelming And sometimes they might get a bit of a thing for you, but it's saying don't exit it, don't leave it. Let them talk. You are able to kind of like create what is necessary. Your approach works. And then just keeping that balance always going. We have toxic. Yeah, whenever things are toxic. Like, so what this is saying, I mean, you're very good at dealing with toxic stuff and you have the resilience to see things through. And you don't give up, as I say, on people or relationships. Even if you've let them go, it's sort of like you hold them as a precious thing. It's just that you accept that, what's next and so forth. I think a lot of you would be natural therapists, people who could help other people deal with stuff. But you also understand, I think, that the creative process, the sacral chakra, helps dispel the toxicity by being emotionally open, by not going into the judgment, by not sort of going into, taking in the toxicity and so forth. But you do know what you're dealing with. You're very well aware of the energies around this sort of thing, which is helpful. So let's see some spiritual gifts that go with either side of this. So we'll do a couple. Firstly, we'll do sort of magical energy that you might bring to it, and then we'll look at some protective sigil energy. So around you using your inspiration for yourself. Sacred heart. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. There is something sacred about what you do. There's something that's very spiritually mature, and finding that sort of sacred space. I think that's why people trust you too. But it works for you. It's real for you. And then in terms of working with others, believe. Yeah, you can make them believe again, believe in themselves, believe in what they can do, and also be able to reflect and see what is really going on, without sort of censoring it in any way. And the protective energy that Spirit gives you around this. So around you inspiring yourself. Archangel Raphael, Archangel of Air, speak your truth in a way people will understand. So this actually, your way of doing this and your truth and the healing energy that is inherent in what you do and the sacredness of what you do actually is something that moves and works over here. As I say, you're an example of this. This is why people are drawn to you and inspired by you. And then in dealing with others who may be in more toxic situations, banishing fear, eliminating fear while summoning courage. Yeah, this is what you help them do. Wow, you people are really important. I'm really glad that you're in the world. Okay, let's also, for the 3, the 2 and the combined one, let's just get an astrology energy for some other information. So around your inspiration of yourself, we have the North Node in Sagittarius, create new beliefs. Yeah, that's what you create a new belief, a new way of looking at things, a new understanding, and freedom. Sagittarius is very free and very philosophical and very spiritual. So that makes a lot of sense. For the energy around helping others, we have Leo rising, captivating. Yeah, you draw people in. Now, it does have the risk, as I've said, of people falling for you, but I think by and large you're more than capable of dealing with that. But like what you do and your energy and your creativity and your positivity and your courage are all very captivating. So that how does it come together? The moon in the 7th house, eager for reciprocation. So the moon in the 7th house is an emotional energy around partnerships and others. So there's a very other person centered. But I think that this is, if you think about being emotionally open, being emotionally balanced and deciding why you would move on to something new if it isn't being reciprocated and communicated, and helping people come out of toxic relationship situations which weren't reciprocated. You bring people towards understanding what it is that they're worth and they should want in relationships. Okay, last but not least, we're just going to get some advice, a little bit of inspiration from somebody in history. So I'm using the love oracles. This can sometimes just be funny, so take it as funny if we just get something funny, but otherwise maybe some of the advice and the person will be very profound for this in terms of your muse energy overall. Oh, wow, Oscar Wilde, one of my heroes. I'm not surprised. I really like your energy. And Oscar Wilde, he had to, one of his greatest poems, The Ballad of Reading Gaol, came from a heartbreak he had, but it was one of the most beautiful pieces of literature, I think, in the English language. So So yeah, like and having humor and being able to see things. So that's very interesting. He says, I can resist everything except temptation. I think it's just funny. He says, hearts are made to be broken. And yeah, look, that will happen. And I think you are aware of that and able to deal with it. And he says, true friends stab you in the front. So again, there's a lot here about understanding human nature and what happens and so forth around it. But it's certainly someone who took their life, their loves, their pain, their heartbreak, all of that, and made it very creative. So I hope that that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you come to the reading with the Tower. So your inspiration, your energy is very high energy, very Uranian, very much around change, around what needs to fall for new things to rise, and all of that kind of energy just overall. You may also be someone, when I was talking about the strange relationship energy that can come with being a muse, I think, yeah, it will come with being charismatic. You may very much fall into that category because you may draw a lot of people to you who think they're struck by a lightning bolt almost when they see you. It does look to me like you have a good way of dealing with that, but that could be the case. So what we have also here is we have 2 everyday oracle energies to show where this inspiration, so when things are really changing, shifting sands, things are uncertain, things are a bit electric, this inspires you around what your connections are, and you inspire others with the strength to deal with bringing in the new, I guess, from whatever was the issue and so forth. So you're probably a very strong change agent, whether it's in your work or just generally, and you are someone who seems to be able to discern for yourself the right relationships to stay in and the ones to move away from under these sort of circumstances, and where the right alliances. In fact, there's something very much about alliance with you. I think that you are a natural savant when it comes to whether it's in career, politically, socially, or emotionally, whether the right connections are, which we'll get into. But those are the 2 areas. And then what we have here is we have 2 court cards. So what I did do, as well as shuffling to get the opening card, I also shuffled until I got 6 court cards. And then I shuffled them again so I wouldn't know which court card was with which. And I really didn't look at what they were or take it in. I just dealt them out. Because in this deck, there's an ingenious use of a kind of vocational description for the archetypes. So for the King of Swords, we have the architect. And for the Knight of Chalices, we have the diplomat. So I think that tells us something else about how you inspire yourself and the actions that come from that, and how you inspire others. So when we look at inspiring yourself, as I say, at times of great change or shock or the end of one thing and the beginning of a new thing is really where this energy kicks in, and it kicks in intensely. You are actually sort of someone who looks at the connections you have and you work out, I think, what ones are appropriate to the future going forward and what ones would you commit to. So just as an architect will look at a schema of what is this house meant to be, or what is this building meant to be. It's like you have a capacity to go within and be quite analytical about it and quite well planned around it to say, where are my allegiances going to stay, whether they're in love or in a career or socially or politically or whatever, so that the next step is to create the new building. If the one tower falls, I'm going to design the new tower. So there's a kind of a sense of your inspiration at a time of great change is to think about what is the new design that's coming through, and who do you need to maintain or build connections with in the new world to do that. Which makes it very interesting then that means that to others at a time when this is going on, you appear to be very strong, you appear to be very focused on the future, you see what can grow out of something, you're inspiring on that level, and you're a diplomat. Your heart is good, you make the right connections, and you are likely in these sort of times to actually, to in a sense, draw people to you and like almost offer them a place in the new environment or that whatever it might be. But there's a high degree of diplomacy, there's a high degree of understanding who you need and who you would want to inspire, and how to understand and deal with them at times where they might be quite vulnerable, where a situation might be quite volatile. So, if you think about diplomats, in international relations, and some of you might be something like that actually, but like just as an allegory, those sort of people are dealing with really high stakes, very complex global issues, and they do have to be able to have the courtesy and the niceties to be able to keep something logical, but also emotionally resonant enough to understand the needs of others. So you're a natural negotiator, a natural mediator, a natural change agent, a natural diplomat. And so, but you inspire people with your strength and understanding. So we're going to use the tarot. We're going to look firstly a little bit more about this side of things, where when the tower is forming, because this particularly comes out there. It doesn't mean that you couldn't inspire yourself when there wasn't major change, or that you wouldn't inspire others, but your particular Muse energy for yourself and others really thrives in times of great change. I would say that Uranus is very strong in your chart in one way or another, if you know your chart. But we're going to have a little bit more of a look about how this works for you, and then we're going to have a look at it with others and also see whether there's any issues around the relationships, as I say, which can happen when others see you as a muse. But firstly, for you, as a muse to yourself, 9 of Chalices, the Hanged Man, Queen of Wands, 4 of Pentacles, 10 of Chalices reversed. Okay. So it's really interesting to me that when we got like the diplomat, the Knight of Chalices here, and then we've got the Queen of Wands, which is actress. And we've got the 9 of Chalices, which is the wish, and the 10 of Chalices, which is the emotional thing that is now spent. I think that one of your ways of dealing with this, until you've had time to kind of almost do the schema than you, is I do think, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I do think that you can act when you need to hold something together that is going to fall apart. You can delay the tower to some degree. Like some of your own inspiration is how to do that and to act as though the change hasn't occurred until the new design is there. So I think that you kind of like on an almost prophetic level, you see when something is going to fall, a relationship, a political party, a social cause, something in a workplace. And you're able to act, and this is partly the diplomat, as though things are still solid enough while you see the change coming up, and you're able to hold it together. Like in an organizational change, you're able to hold allegiances together, you're able to hold functions together until it's time for the new thing to come in. But for you, it's all about timing, I think. It's like your inspiration is how to hold back the fall of the tower until such time as the new thing is there, and you know how to have the right connections. And this is why you have to act. This is why you have to be a diplomat. You can maybe even appear that you are making some really big sacrifices. Like, again, think about in international relations. Like, the diplomat might appear like they're making really big concessions, but it may not be as big as it appears, but it allows for the capacity to create the new. So then let's have a look at how this sort of impacts others, how you inspire others. Chariot reversed. The Empress reversed, the 8 of Swords reversed, the Page of Wands, the 3 of Wands. Okay. All right. I'm feeling like with the Queen of Wands as sort of like an act that you can do, both for yourself to hold everything together and to be sure, but also in the way you're presenting yourself. You become your own creation, your own sort of canvas in a way. And the Empress reversed here. I think that you can sort of hide or act around the emotional side of this until the sort of freedom energy is ready to come. So it's almost like you hold back the tide. Like I do think you do that. I think that happens. And I think it looks like you are self-sacrificing sometimes when maybe you're not. And I don't mean to be saying you're being duplicitous. I think you just know how to do this dynamic. You slow things down enough to allow for something to come to term, because if this didn't happen, it may not. If you think of the thing that you are creating as something that almost has to be born, it's like you slow everybody down from that and rushing into creating something. I do think you're meant to be a thought leader, actually. I think you're meant to be the architect. I think you're meant to bring in the new regime. So you are able to slow down other people from sort of rushing in to fill that particular thing because your presence is so strong. And like it will liberate people. It's not a bad thing. And then once that's done, you inspire them here with the Page of Wands, the Explorer, and the Three of Wands to want to go and see what this new world, this new relationship, this new social cause, whatever it is all about. But you are the creator. You are the creator in this. Like when this comes, I don't think you use it all that often because it's a really powerful skill. And I don't think, there's sort of anything like that's deliberately manipulative. But when things fall apart, you're the person to have around. And it's partly because you make it appear less bigger change than it actually is until everything is in play to create the new world and to then allow people to be free to it's almost like they step through a dimension and they're now free to actually look into it. But if they tried to create it at this point, there would be too many cooks in the kitchen. So there's a real thought leadership energy. So let's see a couple of cards for your creative energy around this and also for what is created for or through the others from your inspiration. So for you, Ace of Wands, the new thought, the new aspiration, the new ambition, the new passion, and the Emperor. You are meant to be. The architect, the emperor. You are meant to be the first principles thinker, the leader of this. You are a natural leader. And what does it create for others or create in others? The Lovers reversed. The Seven, realism about what needs to be disconnected from. So this is like who to connect to, and this is realism about what needs to be disconnected from. So I think you set the parameters after a change that allows people to make those sort of decisions. But I think there's a long period of time where the tower is falling, but you are able to act and make it appear like it's fine until everything is ready. That's the kind of energy around this, whether it's in a personal relationship or whether it's in political or work or whatever it is. Okay, so let's see how chakra energy operates. We're going to look at for you and your inspiration, for how you inspire others, and then the sort of combination energies. So for you in this process, because it's taking a lot on, you take a lot on with this, I think. We have the heart chakra and we have, I love, but I am withdrawing. So I think you hide. I really don't want to make this sound like you're duplicitous because I don't think you are. I think it's necessary as a diplomat. I think you personally withdraw, even when you care about people, so that in a sense your sort of motivations in a sense aren't as obvious and so that you can deal with the issue. But it is possible because relationship is something that you're trying to create for yourself as well, that you need to be aware of not withdrawing too much. Around other people, we have the third eye. I see and can get mentally overwhelmed. I think that this is for them. They would get overwhelmed very easily with this, and particularly if they could pick up like you do, almost prophetically and psychically what's coming. So I think that you have to focus a lot. You dial down the focus on yourself and you focus it on others to try and help them go through change. And then together we have the third eye. I see and connect to the universe. Because you are connected to you help them connect to the universe. But you're the architect. You're like the magus. You're like the one who, you are a kind of a channel to the universe really around this. So let's get some straight talking for each of these, just how to deal with it. So when there's a possibility that you could sometimes withdraw a little bit too far, depending upon the situation, we have betrayed. Okay, if you feel that you were betrayed by people, then you will withdraw, and that's a good time to withdraw. So if some of that is about that, then some of the acting is probably to appear like you're still there, but you're not. It's certainly saying that you don't have to build into the new architecture any betrayal that was represented by the tower. What about everybody else kind of getting a bit overwhelmed around you? Life lessons reversed. Okay. They may not be able to even process what this means as life lessons because they're overwhelmed. So it might be until you get that balance point, there would be no point in sitting down and trying to explain it all to them. This is why you've got to kind of like keep it a little bit hidden because they're not ready, they're overwhelmed. And then bringing it together, yeah, don't stop. Don't stop what you're doing. You need to continue to do what you're doing. What you're doing is right. It's not duplicitous. It's not manipulative. It's understanding your readiness compared to theirs. That's what this is talking about. Let's have a look at some magical gifts and protections around it. So a magical gift that you may bring to your own self-inspiration. Focus. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense with the King of Swords, with the archetype and the architect energy. Like really being able to go, okay, if everything's sort of, if things are falling apart, what are you focusing on to create out of this? And who do you need to focus on? Like you're very good at that. You're calm. You're kind of calm in the eye of the storm. And what about in terms of dealing with other people? Banish. Okay, so if somebody's betrayed you, you banish it. But I think you also, you are the person who's got to be the architect. I keep saying it. It's so like they can only come so far in. It's not like you're pushing everybody away full stop, but you are making it quite clear what your role is in this. Whether you may not be making it obvious to them, but you are keeping people out of the architect room until the thing is ready to be. So let's see protective sigil energy around it for you. So around your own focus and being able to do what you need to do. Banishing fear. Okay, eliminating fear with summoning courage. Some of this is for you so that you don't, it's a process for you so that you don't feel fearful, and also so that you don't have to be fearful that what you're trying to create out of this is going to get confused with everybody else sort of running around. But this is a process you go through to be ready to face the tower. And for other people, rest, an end to struggles, recharging your energy. So like what they get out of it, even if you are kind of keeping them a little bit out of the truth of it, is being able to rest, being able to regroup, being able to be ready to go on the new exploration when the crisis has passed. So there's a lot of what you do for people they'll probably never see, but that's true of diplomacy as well, which is what we saw at the beginning. Okay, let's see for this and the centre some astrological energy as well. So for you in your focused, calm, slightly withdrawn energy to be able to see the tower falling way before it happens and mitigate some of that and have something in its place. That's kind of what we're talking about here. We have Leo rising, captivating. So you have a very strong presence. Even if you're withdrawing, you have a very strong presence. So people would be fascinated by anything that you brought to the table. Around the energy with other people, we have Sun in the 11th house, humanitarian. Yeah, look, what you're doing may feel like it's manipulative, but it really isn't. It actually comes from a very good place, and connecting with others and helping others and relationship-related things, particularly in the kind of more public world, is definitely a big part of your life path. And the connected energy, Uranus. Oh, what a surprise with the tower. Uranus in the 6th house, strong feelings of external disapproval. And that's interesting. I actually wouldn't take what they're saying there as being what this is talking about because, Uranus in the 6th house can mean a lot of things. I think because it's in Virgo, that is the integration of energy, which fits with the architect energy. I think this is about healing and reintegration after Uranian events. So I think that's what this is talking about. And you connect to the universe to do it. Okay, we're going to finish up just with a card from the Love Oracles because I thought we'd get someone inspiring from history just to kind of bring this together. This could just be amusing. Sometimes it is with this deck, but otherwise it could be profound. So we'll just see what we get for you. Sappho, okay. So, there could be a lot of kind of desire energy and to be frank, that looks like two women together. There is a possibility for some of you this is about, breaking through the conventions of what, people think, cis-normative relationships should be and owning your own desires and all that kind of thing, in which case, go you, I would say. But I think otherwise this is more about connecting around what is coming from the heart and coming from the desire nature. So, what is the wish fulfillment and so forth. So Sappho says, love is a cunning weaver of fantasies and fables, and you probably have to be that a bit with this to get people through that process. She says, someone in some future time will think of us So I think you are thinking towards the future and towards what needs to be created. And she says, what is beautiful is good, and who is good will soon be beautiful. So yeah, I think what you're doing is a beautiful thing, even if it feels, I just think it feels a little bit manipulative, but it actually really isn't, because it's to a good cause. And I think history would show that it was towards a good cause. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. I have to say you're an interesting group, because coming to the Hermit, that tells me that there's something deeply spiritual, something very within, something contemplative, and maybe something quite private about both how you inspire yourself and where you inspire others. On its own, I would have thought this is a very private sort of energy. So it's not likely to be seen by a great number of people, but where you inspire yourself or others, it would be profound and spiritual. And that's probably true, but when I look at the energy around how you inspire others, it's not so hidden. So that's interesting. For you personally, it's like your own inspiration is used towards finding, I think, love, finding the people that you want to connect with, finding common interests with the meet cute here. Like it's a sort of like a sense of like you tend to look for inspiration when you are making those sort of connections, love connections, great friendships, that kind of thing. But inspiring others, there's something about you that could either, well, I actually think that people could almost sort of follow you with almost a little bit of a cult-like thing. Like they see you as very spiritual, and you might be seeing a lot of your inspiration and what you do is just something that makes nice connections. But of all the readings, you're the one that probably has to be the most careful around how people respond to this. Because as I've said, people who are very charismatic or operate as muses can get this kind of almost vampiric dependency. And like that seems to be something there. And if you have a strong spiritual center, you might find people kind of follow you, whether you want them to or not, follow you on that kind of level. Or you may find yourself drawn into that kind of thing because you're trying to inspire people to be sort of more truly of the heart, but be around people that maybe aren't. It's more around a cult-like sort of situation. And what's interesting is we've got the King of Wands here. So this is much more out in the world. The Page of Chalices for you, the pianist. So this particular deck, one of the things I really like about it is that it actually puts vocational energies around the court cards. Just it's a nice added touch. So for Page of Chalices, we have pianist. So I feel like this is like a melody. For you, it's like creating a melody towards connection. And I think it's interesting, the person doing the melody there, your own inspiration, brings the second person in because you're alone at that point. So I think a lot of your kind of inspirational spiritual energy and going within is to move towards true connection, which is lovely. That all looks very positive. But that feels very private again, whereas this feels like it's out in the world because we've got the entrepreneur. So it's almost as though whether it's like the difference between your private life and your public, or professional life, or whether it's something about your creativity and your connection actually eventually is meant to be on a larger stage and you're meant to do something with it and be seen and be an entrepreneur and all that kind of thing. And that's when there's the potential risk of getting like the cult-like following. It may be that. So if any of you, and given this collective, this is quite possible, if any of you are looking at your spiritual pathway as being something that you would do as a business, it's not to tell you not to do it at all, because you're coming from a really lovely place. It's just to be aware of the energy of that, because there's something about you if you're doing it that would be very profound. Like people would really think, yes, this person is speaking truth. And the problem is that can sometimes create this kind of dependency. So, because you don't look like someone who's trying to do that. You're trying to sort of have genuine relationships. So it's a little bit tricky. So it'll be interesting to see, because what we're going to do is we're going to firstly look with tarot a little bit more about this, about how you use your kind of almost the melody of your inspiration to draw in the relationships that you would want to have, and it's a very personal thing. Then we're going to have a look at how whatever you do with this in the world might draw in a lot more attention than you possibly were bargaining for, and what Spirit wants to say about that. So let's see firstly for you, how you inspire yourself. The Empress reversed, the Emperor. That's interesting. The Six of Wands. The Magician reversed. Yeah, there's something about you. Like, you're actually very spiritually interesting, but gee, you can draw some interesting stuff to you. The Sun reversed. Okay. What I'm going to first of all say is I think there's echoes of the stuff around other people here in a couple of ways. I think, and like, don't take this on if it doesn't fit, but I'm just going to say a couple of things I see. Firstly, I think for some of you, this deep introspection and spirituality came from some sort of traumatic kind of connection between your parents or around your sort of upbringing. I see like the little girl there at the piano, you know, and then like trying to have the relationship, and we've got the Empress reverse and the Emperor upright. It just feels to me that some of you, like some of this focus on that and the spiritual focus on it came from that situation. And for some of you, it's about something that has to do with bigger things, like in a workplace where something like that's occurred. But either way, it looks to me as though you became very spiritual and went within to try and kind of find the true melody of what you want as a connection, because there's something about what you've been around in your life, whether it's in childhood or around career or a bit of both, where recognition was almost only provided when something wasn't quite true or quite real, or whether it was almost provided conditionally on you not following your true life path. So you might have had parents who wanted you to do something that you didn't want to do. You might have a workplace which is duplicitous. You could be around spiritual people that there are a lot of those sort of issues that get in the way of the true path. But you're recognized. Like, and it's sort of weird because I think personally you've got it pretty well balanced. You're going like, all I really want is to have good connections with people. But like something to do with the professional or your spiritual, it's like the level of recognition that you draw because of this purity brings all this other stuff. So let's see what we get. Let's see what we get around other people. So how you inspire other people. High Priestess reversed. Seven of Pentacles reversed. Two of Wands reversed. Justice. Eight of Cups reversed. Okay. So there's something here about being a truth teller and emotionally holding on till you can do it. So there's a challenge for you. There's a challenge because who you truly are and what you're recognized for spiritually or in some other way does bring some very interesting, let's put it that way, people around you. And I think makes you privy to secrets. I think the cult might be more about secrets than anything else. I don't think it's so much about people following you in a cult-like way, though for some of you that could be the case. But I think there's something about secrets here. And you have a very pure energy about just finding the right connections. But like out in the world as the entrepreneur, like you deal with all these much more complex situations. And it's sort of like, you actually bring that to the surface and you show where things can't grow because people aren't following the same path. You try and bring things into balance. So what you're trying to do is bring things into balance. But I think the risk for you around this and how people are inspired by you is that it's almost like, as I say, either people could try and follow you too much. Well, then, you know, if that was wrong, then what you're saying is right, and it puts too much pressure on you. Or the other thing is that people may try and misrepresent you and what you're doing, accuse you of being cult-like, accuse you of trying to take things on, like try and like bring, you know, like try and it's whistleblowing you, and that's not right. So you're always trying to like balance because you're around something which is quite powerful and quite secret. I think it's like you're having to always try and balance to bring justice in a situation where there's a lot under the surface that needs to be brought to the surface. So let's see what you create and what others create. So what you create by your inspiration, what others create because of your inspiration. So for you, Page of Pentacles reversed. King of Chalices reversed. Okay. And for others, King of Swords, the Devil. Wow. Okay, as a group, like, you'll know if you're at the right reading. If this doesn't resonate, go to one of the other readings. You're around really powerful people or powerful situations in one form or another, whether it's spiritually, whether it's, like socially, politically, corporations, the money markets, whatever it is. And there is a lot of risk associated with it. There is something about your clarity and what you see and what you know that could be exploited or could be battled against. And it's a very heartless environment, actually, because you're going towards the heart, but this is a very heartless energy. And it's like tries to entrap you. And I think it tries to entrap you with approval. Because I feel like what kind of like made you say, I'm just going to focus on having the right connections, is there was some sort of approval mechanism that operated in your childhood, and it's being now replicated into this world, and it's much higher stakes. So you do need to be aware of that. And so this is saying that, like, anything you want to create materially or emotionally, and it is about healing, you can heal that, but you can only heal it on the very personal, because in whatever environment you're in, it's like it's too murky and full of secrets and narcissists and power-hungry people and liars and all sorts of things. So I think this is saying this is why you've actually withdrawn into yourself and made it very private, but you're still in a public area in some way, and you just need to be aware, because there is a lot of power to your inspiration, and people feel that you tell the truth, people feel that you're pure, and so that makes you a bit of a target for manipulation or for suppression. So you need to be aware of it. Okay, so let's have a look at the chakra energy around it. We're going to look at for you, for other people, and like the combination. So for you, solar plexus, I do act spontaneously. So you're pretty balanced. Like when you are dealing with relationships, you're not letting this get in the way. You feel power within your personal relationships and what you do privately, which is good. So it's very much more in the world. It's not so much in your private life, which is nice. I think it might have started in your private life, in your family, but I think, you are now in a situation where you feel able to go after what you want. So for others, we have the crown chakra, I sense higher consciousness. So in the midst of this, you do feel a connection to a higher consciousness. But what I'm going to say again is, if you are around really dark energy, which some of you are, if they sense a higher consciousness in you, they will try and exploit or suppress you. So you just need to be aware of that. And in fact, some might claim to be a high consciousness, but this energy is not that. So... okay, and what about the combination together? We have the root chakra. I am keeping people at a distance. So I think there's more of this going on, because I think you want to bring people to, you're not cutting off when you feel like it is a good connection, but you are tending to keep your sort of boundaries around you, which is probably also the hermit energy. So let's just get a little bit of advice on each of these. So around still being able to act spontaneously. Maybe. Yeah, just keep it, like always, keep it maybe. Check it out. Don't shut off things, but don't commit until you know if it's the right connection for you. Around dealing with this murky environment that you're in, pile 3. Closed. Yeah, keep your spiritual sense closed. Don't be too open in this environment. And what about, the boundaries? Clear your mind, reverse. You need to think about this. Like, just keeping people at a distance is going to stop you doing that. So you need to think about, when do I keep them at a distance, which is this energy. But you do have to think about how you let the maybe occur around the people that are good for you, that aren't part of this. Not everybody's part of this. Okay, so let's see magical power. We're going to look at magical powers you can use around each, and then also magical protection. And for you, we're going to particularly be interested in that over there. But let's see for you magically in being able to still be open for the relationship energy you want. Believe. Yeah, still believe. Believe in yourself. Believe in the fact there are good people in the world, pile 3. What about dealing with this more murky energy? Activation. Okay, so activating your own consciousness, activating your own power, all of that kind of thing, and probably activating whatever the sigil is that we're going to get for this as well. So it's either sigil to protect you around your own internal muse energy, how you inspire yourself to still have good relationships. Beauty, form over function, attraction, like being able to believe that what you find attractive and what you find beautiful is beautiful and to bring beauty to you. What about the protection? What do you need to activate as a sigil to protect yourself in this other situation? Archangel Michael, Archangel of Fire, spiritual victories, physical fitness and beauty. So like there's something about your beauty actually. This is interesting. There's something about your physical appeal that is also drawing this attention as well, which is interesting. But the Archangel Michael or Michael is about the strength of God, is about the protector. So it's a very protective energy around you for this. And staying, and I think it's pointed this, it's saying staying in this sort of beautiful sort of energy of true relationship is part of what protects you in this more false environment that you find yourself in. Okay, let's have a look for each in the middle around astrological energy for you as well. So around your own inspiration, which seems very lovely, to have the right connections, to believe in that, to be still able to be spontaneous, to be not jaded by the world that you're in. Pisces rising, impressionable. So I think you've made yourself careful because you were impressionable to start with. But like Pisces rising is also very emotionally open, very artistic soul, soft-hearted. So that's fine. Don't feel you have to hide that all away. But when you're in this world, we have Moon in the 9th house, extraordinary experiences. Yeah, look, you need to have your psychic senses going around whatever the rules and what that's been claimed and anything spiritual in this larger group. Like you need to be clear around this and to work out how much to keep people at your distance. We have Venus in the 5th house, in love with love. So don't let it get in the way with this. But equally, don't feel this external thing is going to you are the inspiration to find what is right for you. Others are likely to mislead you. But you've got a very soft, very lovely heart. So don't lose that in the midst of all of it. Okay, last but not least, we're just going to get some advice for you from an inspirational person from history, from the Love Oracle. So sometimes this is just humorous, and if that's the case, just take it as that. Other times it can be quite deep. So we'll just see what we get for you. Wow, so I think it's going to be funny. Ricky Martin. I wouldn't have thought Ricky is the deep. Well, that's not really fair. I'm sure he is deep in his own way. But there is a lot about beauty and attraction and all that kind of thing. And then I guess, you know, where that is sort of like kind of celebrityized and so forth. He says intimate relationships are like exercise. Practice and discipline are essential. Yeah, like you do need to still have this sort of life. Don't feel you have to cut yourself off. He says the crowd can go wild, but love is something only your secret heart can know. Yeah, don't worry about what's happening in the outer world. Worry about what's happening in your world. And he says keep your friends like your bathing suits tight. Yeah, so keep the people, you know, like keep them close to you. There's something in your environment, whether you are kind of like a performer and you're celebrated and you've got lots of, you know, fans that are a little bit over the top, or whether you're in some sort of spiritual environment that's a little bit sus, but you're very pure, or whether you're just in an environment that's incredibly power hungry and controlling and manipulative. There's sort of something here about staying pure to your relationships and protecting yourself otherwise. So of all of the ones, as I say, it's the one where you most need to understand the impact of your inspiration on others, what it's bringing out in others, which is wish to manipulate, suppress, control, or exploit in some way, or follow slavishly in a way that is not what you would think was authentic. So it's complicated for you, but it works really well on your most intimate relationships. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope it was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.